Princess Charlotte has rules for how she waves, sits, dresses, and even what color nail polish she can wear. Some she follows exactly, while others she's already started to break. Stay with me to see the strict royal rules Princess Charlotte is expected to follow. Let's start with the one everybody asks about first, the curtsy, because this is the rule that gets the most attention, and it's also the one that trips people up the most. The only royals Princess Charlotte is expected to curtsy to are the reigning monarch and their royal consort, who are her grandfather, King Charles III, and step-grandmother, Queen Camilla. That's it. That's the base rule. Not her parents, not her older brother, just the person sitting on the throne and whoever's married to them. But here's where it gets interesting, because that rule isn't fixed. It moves as the crown moves. Once her father eventually ascends the throne, she may be expected to curtsy to her own parents, and taking things a step further, she may even have to curtsy to her older brother George when he succeeds William as king. So the same 9-year-old girl who currently only bows her head to 2 people in the entire family could, decades from now, be expected to curtsy to her own dad, and then to her own brother. That's not a metaphor. That's the actual mechanic of how this rule works. Former royal butler Grant Harold explained why this feels so strange to outsiders. He put it simply, when you bow or curtsy, you're doing it to the title, not to the person, quoting something Charles himself has said. It's not personal, it's positional. The crown gets the curtsy, whoever happens to be wearing it that decade. Now, why doesn't Charlotte have to curtsy to more people right now? Her aunts, her cousins, other senior royals. The answer comes down to a title she was born with. The main reason Princess Charlotte does not have to curtsy to most other members of the family, including her elders, is the fact that she has an HR8, her Royal Highness title, which puts her, at minimum, on the same level as just about any other working royal who isn't currently sitting on the throne. Being born the daughter of the future king gave her a rank most people spend their whole careers trying to earn. And that rank cuts both ways. It's not just about who Charlotte bows to, it's about who has to bow to her. The rule is that any female member of the royal family who is below her in the line of succession or royal hierarchy is expected to curtsy to her, which might seem surprising given her age, but it's all about rank, not age, since she's the daughter of the future king. Picture that for a second. A grown woman, married into the family for decades, potentially having to dip into a curtsy for a child. For example, once Charlotte is older, female royals like Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, who are lower in the direct line of succession than Charlotte, would curtsy to her. Rank doesn't care about birthdays. Of course, knowing the rule and pulling it off under pressure are two different things, and Charlotte has already found that out the hard way, in front of millions of people. During the concert weekend that followed her grandfather's coronation, she nailed the curtsy to King Charles without a hitch. Then Camilla walked past her, and the princess did a curtsy just fine to her grandfather, King Charles, but missed the curtsy for Queen Consort Camilla. It turns out she'd lost her balance and nearly fell. And while she was checking to see if her father and brother had caught her stumble, Camilla was already walking past her. It wasn't defiance. It was a 9-year-old on live television trying to keep her footing on cobblestones, while also remembering an etiquette rule that most adults would find nerve-wracking. Cameras caught every second of it, and it went around the world within hours. That's the tension baked into this rule. It's rigid on paper, but the second a real child has to execute it in real time. In real shoes, on a real crowded street, things get messy, and the family knows it. That's part of why the coronation footage that actually made headlines wasn't the slip. It was what happened right before it. Charlotte only curtsied after receiving a warm hug from her grandfather. The protocol was there. So was the affection. Both things were true at once. There's also a wrinkle nobody really talks about. The curtsy isn't even consistent among adults, let alone kids. One set of precautions that tends to throw even the most ardent royal experts for a loop are the rules surrounding bows and curtsies, because the enforcement of these long-standing guidelines largely comes down to an individual's discretion. Charlotte is apparently becoming quite the expert on royal rules in her own right, even if she does still bend the rules. Even Buckingham Palace's own official guidance leaves room for it. According to the royal family's own encyclopedia entry, for men, this is a neck bow from the head only, while women do a small curtsy, though other people prefer simply to shake hands in the usual way. So even the institution admits there's flexibility. But for Charlotte specifically, the age at which this all kicks in is younger than you'd think. For the most part, royals start curtsying or bowing to the monarch at the age of 5 years old. Most kids that age are still working out how to tie their shoes, and Charlotte was already being trained to bend her knee on command in front of a monarch. Some suggest her older brother George learned this etiquette much earlier in his life, which means Charlotte could already curtsy to her great-grandmother, or as she calls her, Gan-Gan, long before most children learn their manners at all. And the training for that moment doesn't happen in front of cameras. It happens at home over and over until it's muscle memory. Etiquette expert Micah Meyer laid out exactly how early this starts for royal children in general. She explained that etiquette training for the royals starts as soon as they're old enough to sit at a table, practicing everything from voice levels to dressing appropriately to how to curtsy and bow. That's not a one-off lesson before a big event. That's years of quiet, repeated drilling before Charlotte ever set foot on a palace balcony. So the curtsy alone tells you something important about every rule on this list. It looks simple from the outside. Bend your knee, dip your head, done. But underneath it, there's a whole hierarchy, a whole timeline of when it kicks in, who it applies to, and how it shifts as people age and thrones change hands. And Charlotte, at 9, has already lived through the version of this rule that goes wrong in public, been forgiven for it instantly, and is expected to have it perfected again the very next time cameras are rolling. If the curtsy is the rule everyone notices, the rules around how Charlotte holds her body the rest of the time are the ones that are constantly being graded, whether she's aware of it or not. Start with the wave. It sounds almost too small to be a rule, but it is one, and it's specific. The royal family has actual rules about waving, and all women wave in a very specific, graceful way. This isn't a casual hand flap. It's a controlled, practiced motion, and Charlotte has had it drilled since before she could talk in full sentences. Prince William and Kate might have practiced this skill at home with their daughter, as it appears Princess Charlotte already has it down pat. The pint-sized princess regularly waves at crowds and photographers when out with her parents. The family even has a nickname for the signature motion. The Windsor wave is the royal family's fallback at public appearances, so naturally their children learn it at a very young age. Charlotte has it down pat as she greets her subjects from the Buckingham Palace balcony. Now here's the part that turns waving from a cute habit into an actual job requirement. It's not optional once you're standing on that balcony. Every hand movement is scanned, screenshotted, and turned into a headline within minutes. That's the reality of being watched at that level from the age of 2. Then there's how she's supposed to sit. This one has an actual name. It's called the Duchess Slant, and it belongs to Charlotte's mother first. Women in the royal family must learn to cross their legs in a way deemed appropriate by the Queen, and Kate Middleton has already mastered this etiquette rule, sitting with her legs together and tilted to one side, though she may also cross her ankles if she pleases. The idea is that a royal woman in a dress should never be caught in an awkward position if a camera happens to catch her mid-sentence. It's less about comfort and more about being permanently photo-ready. Charlotte hasn't gotten there yet, and honestly, that's kind of the point of watching her grow up in public. Being as young as she is, Princess Charlotte has yet to master the Duchess Slant. She's often photographed in childlike postures, slouching slightly, and sometimes even crossing her legs, which is completely normal for a 10-year-old. But if we're speaking in technical royal terms, she isn't sitting like a proper royal lady. Nobody's pulled her aside and scolded her for it. But the rule exists, sitting there in the background, waiting for her to eventually grow into it the way her mother did. And it's not just posture, it's the whole physical presentation. There's a lot of expectations for royal women. Not only are they supposed to dress the part and curtsy at the appropriate times, they're also meant to stand and sit in a certain way. Hair has to stay neat, clothes have to stay unwrinkled through hours-long events. Princess Charlotte must always dress neat and proper. Style is part of the royal family's etiquette protocol, and hair must always be neat, while women and men must dress in a smart, sophisticated manner. That standard gets tested constantly because kids do kid things regardless of what they're wearing. In May 2023, Princess Charlotte proved she was just like the rest of us. When she picked up a s'more, she dropped on the floor and popped it back in her mouth. No formal reprimand followed, but it's a reminder that the neat and proper standard is constantly bumping up against the reality of being an actual child at an actual event, eating actual food, dropping actual snacks. There's a stricter version of that food rule too, and it's one she'll have to take more seriously as she gets older. The young princess needs to be careful about what she eats, as she still needs to abide by some rather strict royal food rules, and one of the most important is to avoid shellfish at all costs. It's not written into any formal statute, it's practical. It's reported that royals are advised against eating shellfish if they have a busy schedule ahead of them. To avoid food poisoning, as one former royal butler explained, the royal family has to be careful with shellfish due to the risk tied to their work schedules, so it typically won't appear on the royal menu. As Charlotte gets older and her royal duties increase, she'll likely be even more careful to avoid the risk of illness. A stomach bug that would ruin anyone else's weekend could cancel an entire royal engagement that took months to schedule. Now, dressing smart and sophisticated also means something oddly specific for Charlotte. She basically only wears one silhouette. Her brother Prince George has his own trademark style, only wearing shorts out in public, while Charlotte has only ever been seen out wearing a smock dress. There's no rule that technically bans trousers. Princess Charlotte wears dresses for tradition, but there's no rule against her wearing trousers. It's just that tradition has done the job a rule would normally do. Everyone follows it anyway, without anyone ever having to write it down. And her clothes aren't just picked for her. They're picked to match her brothers, on purpose, for a reason that has nothing to do with fashion. Fashion expert Amber Graffland has said the coordinated colors are a message in themselves. She explained it's a technique Prince William and Princess Kate use to show how in tune they are when they attend official engagements together, and they also deploy it with their children. By looking cohesive, they're subtly showing everyone watching that the family is on the same page. You could say the way the family dresses is a piece of diplomacy in itself. Charlotte doesn't get to just like a color. The color has to say something about the whole family's stability. There's also a rule about who she flies with, and this one isn't about fashion at all. It's about survival of the bloodline. In order to preserve the line of succession, no two heirs can travel by plane together unless the queen, or now the king, grants permission, which, if you ask us, is an understandable rule. That means Charlotte, depending on how the seating gets arranged for any given royal trip, might not be allowed to sit on the same flight as her own brother George. It's not personal. It's contingency planning for a worst-case scenario nobody wants to think about, let alone explain to a 9-year-old. And even the seemingly boring stuff, like which way she's allowed to walk into a room, has a version of a rule attached. Outside of formal events, the royals are often seen walking side by side, and sometimes out of order, which goes to show that strict adherence to this guidance isn't always required. But at formal events, the order matters, the spacing matters, and someone somewhere has usually mapped it out in advance. So even before Charlotte says a single word at any event, before she's asked a single question by a single reporter, her wave, her posture, her dress color, her seating on the flight there, all of it has already been decided by rules that existed long before she was born. Now let's talk about the place where you'd think Charlotte gets a break from all this. School. She doesn't. Princess Charlotte joined her older brother George at Thomas's Battersea, a private school located less than 4 miles from Kensington Palace, where the family lives. On paper, it looks like a normal school. Thomas's Battersea has around 550 students from a variety of backgrounds and teaches a range of traditional subjects, along with ballet, art, drama, French, music, and physical education. But even the way she's addressed there was decided before she arrived. Charlotte doesn't go by Princess in the hallways. She's known at Thomas's Battersea as Charlotte Cambridge. The uniform rules alone read like an actual legal document. Charlotte must adhere to strict winter uniform rules, embracing a strong blue theme, a navy jacket, a navy V-neck jersey, and navy Bermuda shorts or pinafore, worn beneath a red polo neck, with regulation red and blue socks and plain black laceless shoes, plus the option of navy gloves, a scarf, and a hat once the weather turns colder. That's not a suggestion. Thomas's Battersea has a strict uniform policy, mandating all pupils wear specific attire, with different rules for girls and boys, and requirements that shift depending on the season. Even the accessories are locked down. For summer, Charlotte wears a gingham pinafore, a white blouse, and plain white ankle socks, along with a plain logo-free white sun hat or navy baseball cap. And the school doesn't allow its pupils to jazz up their uniforms with designer bags or flashy jewelry, so she has to make do with the same Thomas's rucksack as everyone else. There's even a rule about hair ribbons changing color by season. She can wear a red or blue hairband or ribbon in her hair during winter, but by summer, she must swap the red for a navy, pale blue white, or gingham-checked hairband instead. Compare that fee to the average household budget, and it becomes clear this school itself is part of a different world entirely. The Royal Tots are enrolled at a prestigious institution that, in return for a hefty annual fee, promises its pupils a top-class education as well as early access to some of the most elite connections in society. Playdates with multimillionaires, kids are likely to do away with any future need for a resume. And yet, buried inside all that structure is one rule that has nothing to do with money or status. Thomas's Battersea's most important rule is simply be kind, as the school notes on its own website. The school places great emphasis on a set of core values, which include kindness, courtesy, confidence, humility, and learning to be givers, not takers. Whatever else Charlotte has to follow, that's the one rule that applies to every single kid on the grounds, princess or not. Some of the school's rules bend specifically for the family's security needs, and that's where you really see how different this normal school actually is. During the pandemic, most families had to follow strict drop-off procedures. The Cambridge children got to bypass one of their school's strictest social distancing rules, while most pupils had to be dropped outside the school gates and make their own way in. William and Kate were still able to drop their children and their security detail inside the gates. No other family got that exemption. Charlotte did because leaving a future princess standing on a public sidewalk during a lockdown wasn't a risk anyone was willing to take. That security detail isn't seasonal either. It's permanent, and it's part of daily life in a way that most classmates will never experience. It's highly unlikely that Charlotte will ever be able to go anywhere without her security guards by her side. Drop-off, pickup, playground time, field trips, all of it happens under watch. Still, the family has clearly fought to keep pieces of ordinary childhood intact around the edges of all that structure. Charlotte and her older brother George are taken to school by one of their parents and go on everyday errands like grocery runs and back-to-school shopping. They've even been seen rummaging through their mother's purse for toys at a polo match. It's a strange kind of balance. Heavy security and strict uniforms on one hand, grocery runs and purse rummaging on the other. But make no mistake about which side wins when it actually counts. Etiquette training for the precocious young royal is already in full swing. According to etiquette expert Micah Meyer, both George and Charlotte have already learned some basic royal rules, like how to properly seat and eat at the dining room table, and they rehearse from a young age how to properly behave at formal events and at church, sitting still, keeping their voice levels in check, and knowing when to bow or curtsy. That's not something taught in a classroom at Thomas's. That's homework Kate and William assign at Kensington Palace, after school hours, on top of whatever the school itself requires. And there's one more school-adjacent rule that's easy to overlook. Politics is completely off-limits, and that applies even to children barely old enough to understand what politics is. All members of the royal family are expected to be impartial when it comes to politics and cultural affairs. They're not allowed to vote or run for office. And it's no different for children. Prince George caused upset in 2019 when he was photographed in an England Lioness jersey, with critics saying he was supporting one UK soccer team over another. If a sports jersey can cause that kind of headline for her brother, Charlotte grows up knowing that even a t-shirt choice can be read as a political statement by strangers she's never met. So school, the one place that's supposed to be a break from royal life, actually just runs on a parallel rulebook. Different uniform code, different security protocol, different social stakes, but just as strict, if not stricter, than anything happening back at the palace. Some of Charlotte's rules aren't about behavior at all. They're about permanent limits on what she'll ever be allowed to wear, hold, or become, no matter how well she follows every other rule on this list. Start with the tiara, because it's the most obvious symbol of what people assume royal girls get automatically. Charlotte doesn't have one, and she's not getting one for a long time. While it would be easy to assume that Princess Charlotte has a whole host of royal tiaras at her disposal, that isn't the case. In fact, she has never worn a tiara, and she won't wear one for at least another decade. Because there are royal rules around tiaras, including the rule that a tiara cannot be worn before 6 p.m. It's not about age exactly, it's about formality. Tiaras are evening wear full stop, reserved for events that don't happen in a 9-year-old's calendar yet. Then there's the title question, and this one's a genuinely strange piece of British law that has nothing to do with how good a Princess Charlotte turns out to be. Her mother is the Duchess of Cambridge, and her aunt is the Duchess of Sussex, but there's a high chance that Princess Charlotte probably won't become a duchess herself. That's because she'll only be able to claim that title if she marries a duke, since all dukedoms in the United Kingdom are passed down exclusively through the male line, meaning it's highly likely her brothers George and Louis will be given a peerage and become dukes when they marry. While Charlotte's path to that title runs only through a husband, it's not a punishment. It's just how 600-year-old inheritance law happens to be written, and Charlotte was born into it the same way she was born into the curtsy rules. There's a chance that could eventually shift. It's been rumored that King Charles could change this old-fashioned rule as part of a new modern vision for the monarchy that involves shaking up royal titles. But rumors of reform aren't law. As it stands today, Charlotte lives under the exact same title restrictions her great-great-grandmothers did. Then there's the driving rule, which sounds almost funny until you realize it applies to literally everyone in the family except one person. The Queen was the only person in the United Kingdom allowed to drive a car without a driver's license. Everyone else, including George, will have to take the actual driving test and pass it, just like anybody else. No royal shortcuts there. Charlotte will have to parallel park for an examiner, just like the rest of us, when the time comes. Passports work the opposite way. Charlotte got hers before she could even ask for one. While it's pretty rare for newborn babies to travel abroad, royal babies are a little bit different and need to be ready to travel internationally at any moment. That's why, as soon as they're born, they're issued a passport. A document most people wait years to need was sitting in a drawer for Charlotte before she'd even opened her eyes for the first time. Even her nail polish comes with a rule book, and this is one she's actually pushed back against publicly in front of cameras. There are many nail polish colors the royals are forbidden from wearing. Queen Elizabeth II was known for only wearing one shade, Essie's ballet slippers. A pale, sheer pink that's about as innocuous as a nail polish color could be. That was exactly what the late monarch expected of everyone around her too. The standard wasn't gentle either. When Meghan Markle wore a darker shade back in 2018, palace insiders dished that, Her Majesty decried it as vulgar. Charlotte hasn't been that cautious. Charlotte hasn't shied away from wearing bold, unnatural nail polish. She arrived at Wimbledon 2025 with bright Barbie pink nails, and suffice it to say, the mini royal rocked them. Charlotte was just 10 years old when she was spotted in the stands at the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club. On day 14 of the tournament, nails fully visible to every camera in the royal box. It's a small thing, But it's a small thing that Queen Elizabeth would very likely have had an opinion about. Had she still been around to see it. And then there's a rule so small it barely sounds like a rule at all. How she's allowed to greet a monarch, addressed as she grows into more formal settings. For female members of the royal family, the correct first address is conventionally, Your Royal Highness, and subsequently, Ma'am. Somewhere down the line, Charlotte will be expected to know exactly when to use which phrase, in exactly which order, without hesitating. Put all of these together, the tiara she can't wear, the title she likely won't earn, the driving test she can't skip, the nail polish she's not quite supposed to choose, and you start to see the real shape of what strict rules actually means for a 9-year-old girl. It's not one big dramatic restriction. It's dozens of small, permanent boundaries stacked on top of each other, some going back centuries, some invented within the last few years just for her. So here's where all of this lands. Because for every rule Charlotte follows perfectly, there's now a growing list of ones she's quietly stepped outside of, and the family hasn't stopped her. Start with the selfie. For decades, that was considered completely off limits. For the longest time, taking selfies with the royal family was considered quite inappropriate and disrespectful. Charlotte broke that one in plain sight. On Christmas Day, she took the time to greet her fans and happily agreed to a selfie with a fan in the crowd at Sandringham. And while some may consider that breaking a rule, she was simply following in her parents' footsteps. It seems the future king and queen are absolutely embracing the selfie era, and the rule is no longer that strictly enforced. The nail polish rule got the same treatment, worn in public, photographed everywhere, and no palace statement walked it back. The posture rule, the same. She's photographed slouching, crossing her legs the wrong way, and nobody corrects her on camera. Even the curtsy stumble at the coronation didn't cost her anything. It became a viral moment of sympathy, not scandal. And that pattern isn't random. Insiders say it's actually connected to something bigger happening at the top of the family right now. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward told The Telegraph that Charlotte's own father is behind a broader loosening of the old guard. She said William finds some of the pomp and circumstance, and particularly some of the more elaborate outfits, slightly embarrassing, and is likely to be relieved to be able to tone it down. In fact, William has already started to upend some of Charles' long-standing royal rules to create a more modern, less stuffy monarchy. That shift shows up in small domestic moments too, not just headline events. Super Nanny star Joe Frost, who's spent time observing the Wales children up close, said Charlotte has actually become the one enforcing manners on her own brothers rather than needing correction herself. Charlotte knows the rules. She's the one in the middle. Frost told Hello in an interview, noting that during Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee, Charlotte gently nudged Prince George when he put his hand up, and she appeared to tell Prince Louis to put his arms down as she repeatedly tapped him during Trooping the Colour. Frost added that the reason Charlotte can do that at all is because the Wales children have been raised with an understanding of royal procedures and protocols, as well as understanding there's a time and a place for certain behaviors. So the rules haven't disappeared. They've just moved inside her. Instead of a palace aide correcting her posture, it's Charlotte correcting her little brothers. Instead of a formal reprimand for a stray selfie, there's a shrug and a smile from her own parents. Because they're the ones who started doing it first. That's really the whole story here. The rulebook is real. The curtsy hierarchy, the uniform code, the food restrictions, the tiara ban, the title she may never hold, the flight separation from her own brother. All of it exists. All of it applies to her, and all of it was written long before she was born. But the family she was born into is also the generation actively deciding which parts of that rulebook still matter. And Charlotte is growing up right in the middle of that decision being made in real time. She curtsies to the king. She wears the uniform. She avoids the shellfish. But she also takes the selfie, wears the pink nails, and slouches in her seat like any other kid her age, and gets away with all of it. Because the two people who could stop her have decided, quietly, not to.